Hi, I'm Bill Hodges, and we're spotlighting today one of the directors who will be part of our board of directors here in the Sun City Center Community Association. We had 9 applicants, and they interviewed all 9, and of those they chose 2. You'll get to see both of them in the next few minutes. We're going to talk to them about their hopes and dreams and aspirations for their job as a Sun City director. And our first one is Ernie Addison. Ernie, good to see you.
How you doing?
What fun. What made you decide that you wanted to be a director in our association?
Well, I think the primary reason is after moving here a couple of years ago, my wife and I have come to realize this will be our final resting place here in Sun City Center.
It wasn't just a full moon, huh?
No. You know, as in any major change, lifestyle change, you're always concerned. Did you make the right decision? And we are totally confident now after 2 years here that Sun City Center is going to be the rest of our lives, mainly because of the multiple areas of living that you can choose from. So after 2 years, what I wanted to, I was trying to figure out where I could volunteer my services, and when I read that there were 2 openings, I thought, you know, I may have the background, I have, you know,
and it's a 10-month trial. You
yeah,
don't have to commit to 3 years.
That's a side advantage, you know, although, you know, my intention is to serve past that 10 months. But you're right, it's a good learning experience.
Let's go back a little bit on who Ernie is. Let's go all the way back to, you were 19 years old or 18 years old getting out of high school and you made a decision.
My decision was in 1969, coming out of high school, to join the Air Force. That's what I decided. I had an opportunity, I had a very, very small scholarship to go play baseball at a small college. But really, that wasn't the time for me, so I did a delayed enlistment, worked my way into an electronics career field, and spent about 7 to 10 years there as enlisted. Applied for the commissioning program, and I was accepted, went to the University of Oklahoma, got my bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. Subsequently, as a commissioned officer, I was again selected and went to the University of Texas at Austin, kind of a strange marriage there, OU Texas, and I got a master's degree in electrical engineering. And I retired from the Air Force in November 1990.
But you didn't retire. You wanted to do something else.
No, I was under 40 when I retired, which was out of the military. So I knew I was quite a ways away from where I wanted to be. So I mainly worked for 2 defense contractors, and I still currently part-time work, you know, consulting type work, a few hours a week for Lockheed Martin.
That's kind of nice. It keeps your hand in the game and keeps you current.
Absolutely, absolutely.
In all of those things you learned, electrical engineering and your Air Force career, and then going on to the variety of jobs you've had since then with major contractors for DoD, what have you learned that you think will work well for us here in Sun City Center?
Well, you know, by trade and by experience, I have always been a system engineer. Companies have relied on me to solve problems, you know, across their spectrum. So I think I can use that talent.
Analytical skills.
Right, that's what I was getting ready to say. I can use that talent in my analytical problem solving. The one thing that I've always been successful is I have always kept my views independent, and I've always looked for the right solution that's in the best interest of the team and the stakeholders. And I think that applies here to Sun City Center.
Oh, a lot.
You got to put aside my personal independence, my views, and look at everything from an independent. And you know, the main thing is that I've always been good at performing my fiduciary responsibilities to act in the best interest of the team, and this is what I intend to do here at the board.
I have found personally that people who have served in the military have a certain knack, an ability to keep things in order.
Wow, that's the discipline you learn in the military. being a military brat for the first 18 years, it was well before that.
Oh, so you had a military tradition?
Yeah, my father was Air Force, and I
okay.
attended 11 different schools, or 15 different schools in my 12 years. So
well, it makes my 10 schools look pitiful.
And so, then you can relate, because when you go from school to school, state to state, and in my case, I went to a different environment in 1964, Hawaii, which that was right after statehood, and that was quite an experience. You learn to adapt, and you learn to become flexible, and that carries over. I mean, that's discipline.
I think one of the things that I've seen here in this town is that we're a town of strangers that become family. And really, that's something you've had to do all your life, correct?
I fit right in, because, I was born in Georgia, so I lived in Florida the first 12 years of my life, and before moving to Hawaii and then subsequently Oklahoma. By the way, I'm an adopted Okie. I lived there for, I think, 45 of my 65 years.
And your wife is from there also,
she's a born-bred, purebred Okie. And yes,
federal employee?
She is a federal. She was a federal employee. She's retired. She has a CPA. She's worked for the Office of Inspector General, and yes, she had a federal career too.
In your 2 years here, what are some of the things you might have become involved with? Any clubs, groups,
yes,
organizations?
My wife got me involved in the Stained Glass Club. I've traditionally just been a sports guy. I had played softball, I bowled, I played golf, I played football, you name it.
And you're still running. I understand you and your son just competed in the contest.
I hesitated to put that in my hobby category. That was more, but I do enjoy it. It's a great stress release to go out and run.
So fitness is an important part of your life.
Fitness is important.
We do have a magnificent fitness facility.
That was, the draw to Sun City Center is, you got the fitness, but the sun, you can work out all year round. As my oldest son came down and ran with me in last Saturday race over in Palmetto, and I had the advantage because he's out trying to train in Oklahoma in 25-degree, 25-mile wind, and look what I get to train in. So it was close.
And did you win?
I won because I got to run with my family. He crossed the finish line 3 seconds ahead of me, and it's under protest right now for me.
Who was keeping the clock, right?
Yes, yeah.
But you also enjoy some of the other things in the area. I think one of the things you told us earlier was that beaches were important to you.
Number one.
But not to say which beach, so you didn't lose your...
No, the number one reason we chose Florida is the Florida beaches. And my wife and we enjoy just sitting on the beach. We have a beach day every week. At least one, but we have Friday is our beach day, and we go down to the beach, we have lunch, and we sit out on the beach. That's our relaxation. So yeah, beach is the number one reason for Florida, and there are several of them up and along the Gulf Coast that we just absolutely love.
I know it's early, but are there certain things that you would like to particularly become involved with as far as a board member? Every board member cannot know everything, but what would you like to become involved with?
Well, there are several areas that, communications is one. I still think as in all corporations, military, you name it, we never seem to get the communications at the right level. And no matter how hard we try, and in Sun City Center, the association, we do a good job, don't get me wrong. But I'm one of those process-oriented improvement person that says, hey,
it can
always be better. And I think communications, I think the main thing that I want to do, rather than trying to predict where I'm going to be the most value add to this whole process, I want to use this time to listen and learn and help out where I best fit.
Somebody once said we have two ears and one mouth, and maybe it'd be better if we used them. In fact,
good advice.
One way, correct?
Yeah.
Ernie, I promised you an opportunity for you to say just a couple of words to our friends out here that are watching the video. So would you like to share some things with them?
Yeah, the number one thing, I'm honored, I'm excited to be part of the board, representing the members of the community. I will pledge that, I will work hard and I will perform those fiduciary responsibilities I mentioned earlier. I believe in acting in the best interest of the majority of the members. And I look forward to meeting more members and learning, listening, and getting to know everybody.
Well, Ernie, Addison, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. We're going to talk with the next of the two board members very shortly. But keep in mind, the Bible says, where there is no leadership, the people perish. And I really appreciate your stepping up into this leadership crop. We'll see you again in just a minute. Our two interviews with our new board members here in the Sun City Center Community Association Board. They've just been appointed, and of 9 people that were in the running, these are the 2 that were the ones selected. However, the other 7 were great people, and we're kind of looking forward to the next year to see what happens with them too. Marilyn Miller.
Yes, sir.
How wonderful to have you here with us.
Thank you.
I'm really excited. And how long have you been here?
4 whole months.
Yeah, I knew that.
It's going on 5.
And hopefully 6, 7,
6 and
8, 10
7.
on the way through, right?
Exactly.
I think it's wonderful that you jumped in. So many of the people who run for our board over the years we've been here have had some issue that has driven them to be on the board. Did that happen to you, or do you just say, hey, this looks like a good thing to do?
It didn't happen to me. It looked like a good thing to do. When the opportunity came up, I discussed it with my husband, and he said go for it. So I applied with absolutely no hope that it would ever happen. But I don't come with an agenda, and I think that it's important to note that. As a new person, I don't have any allegiances, I don't have any alliances, and I don't have any agenda. That's the good part. The bad part might be that I don't know all the issues that are concerning the community. That I'll get up to speed on. The board has been very patient with educating me on the backstory of all the different issues.
And believe me, there's a lot of community here that will try to do that too, but listen to the board.
And I think I think you make an important point, that a lot of times decisions have to be made that are unpopular for a small group, but you have to think of the big picture. And decisions have to be made for the good of the whole community and not just for a small segment.
Let's drop back and talk about Marilyn. She graduated from high school. What did you do? Where did you go? What part of the thing of your life made you who you are today then?
1968, I graduated from high school. Like a lot of women in that era, got married the following year.
You could be a teacher, a nurse.
I always wanted to work in an
Secretary.
office, so I was a secretary, and I worked a number of different secretarial jobs. And I had a child. I raised a son who's now 43 years old.
Really?
Yes, and he has a daughter, my granddaughter, who's 21. And he...
You realize in 10 years he can live here too, or very close to that.
I hope not. But those years of being a secretary taught me how to use a computer. And it was really sort of a training ground, if you will. And that led me to see...
That was early on, in that
Early
time
on.
period. You had the XTs and things like that.
And I actually started on Macintosh computers, and if you remember the little Macintoshes that were
Oh,
the
yeah.
little octagonal, or I mean
Right.
rectangular boxes, and I remember bringing one home and putting it on the kitchen table, and my son said, "Mom, what are you going to do
If you
with
still
that?"
had it, it'd be worth a lot of money.
Yeah, it would. But over the years, I was able to see a need in the corporate world for the corporate executives to learn how to use computers, because they couldn't rely on secretaries to do everything. The world was changing, but they were too busy to step out of their office and take a class. So
An ego there. They didn't want to get out of their
Well,
office. and
there
take
was
class.
that, too.
Have it in there where nobody sees them fail, right?
And they probably felt that they were too busy to walk out of the office for a whole day or a week or whatever. So I started going into companies and sitting with the executives just for an hour at a time and teaching them strictly what they needed to know to do the job.
That is a key point.
And it was a very successful company for a number of years. And through that I started teaching at, they call it UB, the State University of New York at Buffalo. And the company just went on until the technology started changing, so that pretty soon computers were ubiquitous, everybody had one, and it kind of just wasn't necessary anymore.
Yeah. But you got involved then in various organizations, and in fact started one.
I did. I was a founding member of the Buffalo chapter of the National Association of Women Business Owners. We were different than other women's business groups in that you had to own a business to be a member.
Okay.
And over the course of 20 years, I think I held every position in the organization, including president. And just before we moved here, as immediate past president, you become the chair of the nominations committee, so you have some input into the next round of leadership.
And you found somebody to take your job. I always tell people on any committee, your committee chairman's first job is to find somebody to replace them, correct?
The way they work is the vice president becomes the president the following year. So you work together for a year and then she takes over. So.
And you haven't given up organizing or leading groups.
No.
And you said to me before we started this that one of the reasons leaving Buffalo was 11 feet of snow.
We had 2 snowstorms last year. The first one was 7 feet and it lasted for 2 days. And the next one, about a week later, we got 4 more feet of snow. And then in the following month, it never got above freezing for the entire month of February. And I said, I'm done. We need to move
Establishing
south.
right away you're a very smart lady, right? Having stayed up though that long up there, I don't know.
It's time to go. 35 years.
You started looking for a place to go.
Mm-hmm.
What drew you to here?
We did a really thoughtful search. We did a lot of research. We looked at several states. We weren't locked into Florida. We have no family here. We don't know anyone here. So when we started researching, we knew we wanted a 55 and older community. And we had some criteria. We wanted a place where we could age in place. That was very important to us, that there was medical care. That as we age, we would be able to step down into maybe an assisted living.
All of which we have here.
And that was very important. Having a hospital close by, having the Moffitt Cancer Center close by, those things, we took all of that into consideration. But Sun City Center drew us mostly for the beauty of it and the people. And everybody says that. Every video that you ever see, they all say the same thing. Everybody's friendly.
And it's true.
But it's true. You can go for a walk and every person that's driving by in a golf cart waves to you.
I love that myself. and you know, one of the things you were talking about was our information center.
Mm-hmm. When we came here to do a tour, we went to the information center, and we had no idea that that was a very new building. And we could see that it was a nice building, but we had no idea that it had just been built. And the volunteer who took us around and the information that they gave us and the clubs that they took us into based on our interests, and nobody acted like, you know, we were interrupting them or bothering them. No, come on in. You know?
Pride of ownership. Everybody wants to show what they have. Yeah.
So we went home that night, went back to our hotel in Apollo Beach, and we said, "This is it. This is the place." And we actually made.
Then you went to High Neighbor right after you got here, right?
We did. We got here. We actually closed on our house October 31st. I think High Neighbor was November 3rd, and So we were here when people say,
And
oh,
found your first job. while
found my
you were there.
first job, and people say, how long were you here? And we'd say, 2 days. I met Elaine from the library, and I said, oh, do we have a book group in Sun City Center? And she said, no, would you like to start one? And I said, well, sure. So that was it, I was in.
I promised you that I'd let you have just a minute or two to talk with the people of our great community and just tell them, you know, what you hope to do or why you hope to be a part of this board or why you are a part of this board.
Right.
So now's a great time to do that.
I want to reassure people that just because I've only been here 4 months doesn't necessarily, isn't really something to worry about. Longevity in a community doesn't necessarily confer credibility. As I said, I'm not bringing an agenda, and I don't have alliances to any particular group or neighborhood, and I'm here to do what's best for the community at large. And I admit that I don't know all the issues that face Sun City Center, but as I said, the board has been very kind and patient with giving me the history and the backstory of their concerns, and I know that I invite people to come and talk to me and bring me their concerns and their issues, and I'll listen, and you know, maybe some things really do need to be brought to the board.
Ladies and gentlemen, you'll have this opportunity to meet her at the board meetings, and I'm sure she'll be glad to see you. By the way, you realize that you can't have a dinner, a lunch, or anything without people walking up and saying something, right?
Well,
I've often questioned, why do people do this? But Marilyn Miller, I'm so pleased you did.
thank you so much.
And we look forward to seeing you on the next Bill Hodges Spotlights.